Well, it's good to see so many of you made it back from after lunch. I know the food was good, and we appreciate you stopping by offices to check on a few things. But we've got an exciting afternoon planned with an ice cream social and some sessions this afternoon that will be hosted by your colleagues. But we also wanted to take this moment just to spend some time talking with you about where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. Earlier this morning, you heard about the data, so this is more of a sort of a scripted message that I put together, and I'll deliver it to you today. So I will do my best not to sound like I'm reading, but because of time's sake, I wanted to make sure everything stayed on track. You know how it goes this morning. When you gave me a microphone, I kind of went over a little bit. So. Good afternoon, Highlander family. I would first like to begin by thanking the group that had anything to do with putting this program together today, whether you prepared the SARC, coordinated the lunch menu, ordered the awards for the recognition segment, or you facilitated planning meetings. Please stand so that we may recognize you at this time. I also want to acknowledge and thank each member of our faculty and staff for the energy and effort you display on a daily basis to make Gordon better. Noticeably different from this afternoon's audience is my wife and kids. If you remember last year, they were here in the audience. We can certainly say what a difference a year makes. Allison, my wife, accepted a full-time position, which limits her daytime flexibility, but she still sends her love. Aniston, our oldest, created her own Highlander to Beer program and is now a full-time student at Mercer. By the way, she did enjoy her time here, but she convinced me that she loves a sense of anonymity even more. As for the Super Twins, they will be 8 on Friday. And are doing well. Their elementary school survived the first year, and they are already off and running for the second year. But have no fear, you will still see the family around campus this year because you know we take a family approach to this role and to everything we do. A little over a year ago, we found ourselves in this very auditorium, hoping to make sense of our shared context. Back then, only 2 months in, some of you came to visit and shared your feelings and perspectives in confidence. Others spoke openly about past hurt, inequities within the institution, a need for clear institutional identity, and a desire to address historical challenges with a fresh approach. Irrespective of your voices and experiences, it was evident that the institution would benefit from a clear plan. This was a perfect match since the USG expects all institutions to renew its strategic plan every 5 years. For those of you who are new, the plan was due in July 2018. I arrived in June of 2018. But a year's extension was granted to allow us additional time to develop something together. I'm extremely proud of everyone in this room today for your hard work, dedication, and drive to continue moving forward during this past transition year. You see, we started off the year with revealing data just like this morning that surprised a few and decided that we were going to do something different as an institution. Whether you embrace the thought of remaining relevant, going from good to great, managing the transition, or building on our strengths, we decided that there were 2 essential ingredients for our success. The first being that we would hold ourselves accountable for every decision we made and action we took. It is because of your willingness to acknowledge the past and grab hold of the future that we are here today. The second is that we needed to move forward together. The silo and solo approach would need to be laid aside during this part of the journey. Although many of you wanted to know a vision and a plan last year, I encourage you to remain patient throughout the transitional year. You see, it was important that we listened to each other, learned from each other, laughed with each other, and loved on each other. We had some difficult times along the way, like losing certain members of the Highlander family, whether to a retirement well-deserved, a promotion well-earned, or even to death for a life well-lived. We also had changes during this last year that challenged us on what we thought we knew and what accomplishments that gave us a glimmer of what is to come. Some of you might be thinking, I've not seen much change, or what is Dr. Nooks talking about? Well, let me recap last year and share some of these positive and exciting examples with you. We implemented our new student orientation, and we won the inaugural USG Momentum Award for advising and student success. Peter Higgins would tell you that. Steve Rainey would tell you that we implemented Fire 1000 as a course for entering freshmen and made it mandatory and required. If Amanda Duffus shared with you, she would talk to you about the record participation from students and faculty at our undergraduate research symposium. Our nursing faculty would raise their hand, and they will tell you that we're ASIN full accreditation with no conditions for the BSN program. We had a record number of baccalaureate graduates for this past year, and Dr. Knighton would say it was the highest percentage of total graduates as baccalaureates. Either Jeff or Peter would jump in and say, don't forget about the momentum year approach. You know that we're the state college sector leader, and we're number 3 in the USG. Not long after that, I see Richard Baskin holding up his hand to talk about International Week and how that was done throughout the campus. But not to be outdone, Anna Higgins would tell you that we had record attendance at the Teaching Matters Conference. But then Peter would team up with Barry, and they would tell you that we just received a STEM grant over the next 3 years, totaling $150,000. Ryron would want to be in the conversation, and he would let you know about the banner year we had with the African American Institute and those young men, and how some of them went on trips for the first time, where they saw the beach for the first time, or even rode on an airplane for the first time. I think Rhonda Toon, if she were here, would team up with Montrese Adra Fuller and talk about how the Foundation Board for the first time instituted its own strategic plan. And Candy would jump in and talk about how we oriented 4 new Board of Trustees members and even revised our new member orientation session with expectations for our Board of Trustee members. But then a number of you, to include Rick Calhoun, Jessica Trela, Tanya Moore, would talk about how we went out into the community and we engaged with the 14 county service region, because we realized, although we're here in Lamar County, it takes contacts in Henry, it takes contacts in Fayette, it takes contacts in Spalding, Pike, and Talbot. But once again, we are proud that Montrese would remind us that with Steve Argo's sort of insight, we look to replicate the type of success we had in giving this year. After all, we did book a pledge for $250,000. We did just 2 or 3 weeks ago settle up on an endowment pledge for $35,000. But that wasn't enough, because our community was asking for more. So that meant Gary Sharp and Ed would get together with Steve and Austin and others so that we can create sponsorship packages for our athletics program and our Performing Fine Arts series. But Human Resources would say, don't forget that we need to keep everyone healthy. Not only did we do a good job of that, we actually had 51% of our campus community participate in the USG Wellbeing Program. And the USG goal was 30%. We ranked in the top 5 of all USG institutions. But that wasn't enough, because the Wellbeing Committee got together with Scott and Calvin and Jeremy and others. They applied for a mini grant and they were awarded the mini grant. So that's some of the wellness opportunities you see going on right now. But then Wendy would go ahead and team up with Jeff. They would talk about the Highlander Leadership Academy and the 13 people who went through the program. They would also brag that they were presenting at the International Cheer Academy, where Gordon served as the host institution. Human Resources, they went ahead and they created the Gold Program, because they understood about the power of we. They understood about professional development, and that money wasn't there to have everyone go off campus. So they identified experts on campus who could facilitate some of those sessions for us. We also realized that this year we had to measure up, and we had to answer to the USG for completing our comprehensive administrative review. And we had faculty and staff get together to make some really difficult decisions and recommendations, which were ultimately accepted by the USG when they told us to go forward and implement those. But then again, the facilities and IT teams would take credit for helping to open the Student Success Center. After all, it was a team effort to bring that building online, which our admissions, financial aid, and bursar call home today. But then again, we understand that some things are behind the scenes. It's not always sexy. So Troy and Jason would tell you that we had a cybersecurity plan implemented. And we also implemented multi-factor authentication based on the request of the USG and did it without a hiccup. The business office and the accountants will tell you about GASB 87 and how we're on track for the first time to close the fiscal year without assistance from outside institutions. The bookstore would talk about their point of sale system, and Connie, Teresa, Wanda, Dale, and Hannah would tell you about how it reduces the cost of paper and modernizes our transactions. But then, lo and behold, Jeff would pop up again, this time Mason, and talk about how we maintained a safe campus throughout the entire year, and we basically had 2 BOR facilitated tabletops on our campus just to keep our faculty, staff, and students safe. We hosted 3 student town hall meetings, and being responsive to their requests, Dr. Head would jump in and talk about how we kept the SARC open later. He would talk about how we ran shopping shuttles to Walmart, Tanger, and Ingalls because students were saying they didn't have transportation, but they were living on their campus. They couldn't pick up basic groceries. They couldn't pick up basic hygiene needs because they couldn't go off campus. But that wasn't enough. They even challenged us with some aspirational goals. And they said, if you all could lower food prices at the spot, and how about couldn't you bring Chick-fil-A on campus? And lo and behold, we can look them in the eye on Thursday and says, yes, we did reduce food prices in the spot this year. And yes, Chick-fil-A is coming to Gordon State College. Chick-fil-A is coming to Gordon State College. I'm done. I'm gonna end with that. I'm gonna end with that again. We also realized that we needed to host more weekend activities and community service opportunities, like teaming up with Tanya Moore for our first MLK Day of Service. We realized that students wanted tradition and experience, so we had our first homecoming year, which our basketball team defeated Georgia Highlands College by 1 point. We also understood everything cannot just be fun and games, so we listened to them, and they said if we had the ability to print things in our residence halls and access computers, we would use it. So we took the students at their word and we teamed up academic and student services together to create the Academic Resource Center in the residence hall. By next month, we would have fully implemented our automated admissions application process for the first time in our history. As of next month, we would have fully implemented a CRM, which is a customer relationship management tool, for the first time in our history. But that's not enough. Accolades from this past year lets us know that our women's soccer team now holds the title of GCAA Region 17 champions, and they were acknowledged by proclamation not only in the city of Barnesville, but around the region. Our men's basketball team, like I mentioned, won their first homecoming game by 1 point, thank you. And when we started the conversation, we weren't even sure if we were gonna pull it off, but there was so much energy in that arena, we were able to pull it off. Our men's baseball team earned the title of GCAA Region 17 champions, made it all the way to the district tournament, and we had our coach of the year to put with that. There's so many different things. Yeah, give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. We did so many other things, to include working on a regional workforce study that included 30 plus community, faculty, and staff members working on an enhanced definition for shared governance for our institution. We took the time to honor and celebrate each other, whether it was a retiree reception, faculty promotion, or the acknowledgments from last year on how long you've been with the institution. We received the Campus Spotlight segment during the Board of Regents this morning, and I just got word again that they want Gordon State College to be on the Board of Regents meeting again next month. We received the 2018 Regents Teaching Award vicariously through Dr. Mayo. Give it up, give it up, give it up. And we had one of the highest participation rates for our annual giving campaign last year. Last but not least, we delivered our 5-year strategic plan entitled Building the Power of We to the USG on time. I state all those accomplishments and think about many more with Highlander pride. You've shown this institution, the surrounding communities, and most importantly, our students, your passion for continuing to move forward. At our last Student Success Summit, I stated this, quote, "This transitional year provides an opportunity to help drive and create an environment where student success remains the priority. This is the central theme that will serve as our North Star as we prepare the institution for the future. Our future is bright. It is time to begin writing the next chapter entitled Remembering the Legacy, Pursuing the Dream, Highlanders Forward," end quote. I still feel the same way today. Our future is bright. You see, as we look into the future with a Highlanders Forward mindset, we find ourselves approaching year 2. This is the year that we're going to call our implementation year. You see, during the implementation year, we will follow our North Star, which is our strategic plan, and trust the process. Trusting the process is something that we often do in life, at least when we're in control. You see, for example, Aniston, my oldest, started driving on the highway a little over a year ago. I taught her on my car, and as we would pull into the parking space every now and then, even Anna would wave from the window and acknowledge she was pulling in ever so slowly. Well, trusting the process is like trusting that the brakes will work. You see, they've always worked on my car. I press the pedal and the car slows down. Even when the weather gets pretty slick, the car may have slid a bit, my heart may have raced, but I trusted the process, largely because I was in control. But then Aniston started driving, the same car, the same brakes, but I was not in control. Aniston was in control. The process remained the same. Press the brakes and the car stops. But Aniston was in control. You see, it would be easy if we could all control whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted. Then we could possibly get the results we're searching for. But that would only be trusting the process because we are in control. What happens when, depending on the situation, the circumstance, you find yourself in the passenger seat? Trust must increase. Because the moment you grab for the wheel, the moment you take your foot and cross over the gear shift, searching for the brake pedal, you can hurt everyone in the vehicle. God forbid the car gets out of control, even innocent bystanders can be hurt. In addition to trusting the process, we will benefit greatly from approaching our work from a long game perspective. You see, last year I mentioned a book entitled The Art of the Long View, and the author, Peter Schwartz, presents an argument that many organizations fail to take the critical step of using future scenarios, what will happen in 2026, to develop long-range plans. And he opens with the premise, quote, "To act with confidence, one must be willing to look ahead and consider uncertainties. What challenges could the world present us? What might others respond? How might others respond to our actions?" Rather than asking such questions, too many people react to uncertainty with denial. They take an unconsciously deterministic view of events. They take for granted that some things just can't and won't happen. Our retention will never drop below 44%. oil prices won't collapse, or the Cold War can't ever end. Not having tried to foresee surprising events, they are at a loss for ways to act when upheaval continues. He goes on to say they create blind spots for themselves, end quote. The long game or the long view encourages strategic short-term decisions based on the best long-term sustainable scenarios. One of the most salient examples of this type of decision-making was making our merit increase decision from this past year. This morning, you saw the data detailing our enrollment challenges over the past 5 years. We have been declining in the number of full-paying students. We had a significant enrollment decline last year, due in some part by decisions made prior to last academic year. Our retention for last fall was the lowest in several years. Externally, fractured relationships with school districts and increased competition from larger institutions to the north and south created a perfect storm. We not only felt the immediate impact of tuition loss, but we will feel the impact of state allocations next year. If we do not meet our enrollment target for this year, we are likely to feel it the following year as well. So what do you do when your revenue is declining? Your expenses, such as healthcare, utilities, vendor contracts, will increase this year and likely the following year. But you have to invest in people who have devoted their energies and efforts into making Gordon what it is today. What do you do when the USG and the state expect a balanced budget and is likely to issue a memo in the near future seeking a budget reduction scenario for this fiscal year or even the next? What do you do when the merit pool funding you receive from the state only accounts for 75% of the maximum pool? What do you do when you have a new strategic plan calling for all different types of work to move the institution forward, and the current colleagues are stretched to their maximum capacity, and without additional assistance, without additional hands, the work, the institution, the students will not reach the collective goal? If you're me, first, you pray for wisdom. Second, you seek counsel from others who are in and have been through similar circumstances. Third, you exercise a difficult decision to narrow the range of the annual increase. This decision would ultimately make it possible to fund not only this year's pay raise, but future year pay raises as well. In addition, the decision to use a USG model approach to applying the merit raise would eliminate any perceived favoritism or artificial rating inflation during this cycle. This is just one of the decisions that are ahead of us. Each decision has to be made on what is best for so many competing factors. On some days, the decisions are easy. With other cases, it is maddening. But each day we come here ready to serve again because there is a belief in the power of we. I can tell you firsthand, I learned to trust the process. And Aniston is driving on the highway. So, how might we trust the process collectively? Let us trust the process while beginning to build the power of we. You see, earlier this summer, we launched our 5-year strategic plan. The plan was developed based on several different data inputs, which were made available to the entire campus. The Strategic Planning Council from the Senate was the body used to gather feedback and guide the process. Our consultant, the Carl Vinson Institute of Government, was impressed at the level of interest and buy-in related to the development of the plan. In the end, we developed and adopted the following set of institutional values. We wanted to be and remain student-focused. We believed that putting students at the heart of everything we do and all of the decisions we make would bring us together on common ground. We believed in excellence, not perfection, because we realized day after day we will try our very best, but there is no shame in giving us your very best. Every now and then we will fail, but if we learn from our failures, and if we work together, and if we count on each other, we can make it through. We believe in lifelong learning and scholarship because this is a place of higher education. We understand that this is a place we hope to impart knowledge to students and, quite frankly, to learn from students at the same time. We believe that we wanted to do this in an atmosphere of respect because backbiting and going behind each other's back and talking in small rooms will not get us there together. It will actually undermine the work we're preparing to do. And we believe, last but not least, that this part of the journey, there was no time for silo or solo work. We wanted to do this together because we realized that's the only way we can succeed. With that, we also understood that those values would support our mission, which you see in front of you, to be a catalyst for exceptional and accessible education through innovative teaching, engaged learning, and transformative experiences for the benefit of our students, the communities we serve, and the world we live in. But that would be supported by our vision. And our vision, Gordon State College, will be a leader and a primary educational partner in elevating our region's economic prosperity and educational attainment through collaboration, integrated educational experiences, and a vibrant campus culture. There are three strategic imperatives that will serve as a framework for this plan. Underneath each strategic imperative, there will be specific objectives that will house annual departmental and professional goals. These are some of the SMART goals you heard about and will be used with evaluations this year. Your departmental leader or supervisor will confirm your goals over the next few weeks. You see, this year's budget was designed around the strategic plan and its year one goals. Hence, if you do have a year one goal as your own goal or as a departmental goal, and it was approved, the needed funding is also in place to help support progress toward that goal. So let me give you a few examples. The first strategic imperative calls on us to establish a distinctive identity built on collaborative campus culture and supported by our institutional values. As an institution, we want to accomplish the following things within our first strategic imperative. We want to develop a comprehensive strategy for sharing our present story and pursuing our future aspirations. We want to create an institutional framework that supports evolving strategic priorities and to recognize excellence across campus. With that, some of the specific goals: we want to enhance communication on campus by leveraging bodies such as the President's Administrative Council, the Strategic Planning and Budget Committee, and the SACS COC Council. In addition, identifying faculty and staff to fulfill existing ex officio roles on groups like the GSC Foundation, which these roles have always been there, but we're now going to activate it and have people plugged into the communication process. We want to also successfully align and affiliate with national and state accreditation guidelines for our School of Education and our Health Information Management program. We want to streamline our communication and branding approach internally with a level of consistency and with an eye on our message, our colors, and our identity. We will complete the review of the academic organizational structure and develop the roadmap of how we will move forward. We will review the first wave of our policies to ensure alignment with the USG and make adjustments to address gaps between policy and practice. We will continue to refine our budget and to make the necessary decisions to support long-term viability with respect to the strategic plan. We will develop a process to train those who chair our searches and create a comprehensive onboarding session for those who are new to the Highlander family. We will prepare for a year two compensation review by first reviewing and confirming our job descriptions and responsibilities during the course of this year. We will begin a consistent approach to performance evaluation for all staff, to coincide with the USG's e-performance system that's coming online this year. We will continue our investment and recognition of our faculty and staff, whether through professional development or occasions like this morning, because you do so much for Gordon, and we want to acknowledge and honor you. All of these objectives will cohesively contribute to a collaborative campus culture. But that's not enough. You see, we also want to make sure that the work of Gordon State College places students at the heart of everything we do. So with that, our second strategic imperative is to promote student excellence throughout the academic journey. The student's journey starts before they arrive at Gordon State College. We will be sure to promote excellence by following three main, overarching themes of preparing a strategic enrollment management plan, promoting student success, and fostering a dynamic campus learning environment on engagement, discovery, and service. You heard a lot about it this morning from Jonathan Hull. It's really called the momentum approach. So with that, we will develop a strategic enrollment management plan to attain a student mix in which 70% of the population is pursuing the baccalaureate degree. Now, there's so much under that. That's going to include academic programs. That's going to include recruitment. It's going to include retention. It's going to include a lot, but it's also going to include every single person in this room. We will develop new academic program proposals to meet students and regional workforce demands while evaluating programs that are not meeting USG benchmarks. We will begin the process of outlining the milestones for our first-year student to begin developing the Highlander Edge. This includes a deeper commitment and participation with undergraduate research, an inaugural Welcome Week experience, and a fire class that connects the community and career. We will continue to search for better connections between disciplines to produce clearer and more successful pathways for our students, whether they continue to pursue nursing or even develop a new passion. We will create a course schedule with an eye on space utilization based on the governor's request and college completion based on the USG's request, using the modern technology and innovations available to higher education. Lastly, our institution will assist our students in the development of their leadership skills both on and off campus, like we did during our inaugural Student Leadership Academy last week. Last but certainly not least of this concluding strategic imperatives is the thought that this past transition year provided the opportunity to hear from so many supporters in a short period of time. We heard from the USG, we heard from alumni, we heard from the foundation board, we heard from local and state and national elected leaders. We heard from K through 12 and higher education partners. We heard from economic developers and employers. The common theme was that we want to be part of the Gordon experience. In fact, we, as a Highlander nation, said that Gordon State College should be an institution that is focused on meeting the needs of its primary service region and the state. To do so, we created our third strategic imperative, to strengthen community engagement and partnerships. You see, we decided as an institution that we will accomplish this goal by strengthening our partnerships with employers, organizations, school systems, and other higher education institutions, governments, and other entities in the region. We will enhance our marketing and communication efforts to better tell our story and build relationships with our partners. Our efforts in reaching the entire 14-county primary service region will be accomplished through creating an opportunity for community engagements with a regional approach, increasing campus utilization and reach, and building a strategic partnership pipeline. More specifically, we will identify points of contact for each of our 14-county primary service counties to ensure a level of intentionality and connectedness. We will host key gatherings of elected officials at the local level and the state level to share the Gordon message and articulate how we plan to fulfill our role as a regional catalyst. We will continue to forge strong and productive relationships with higher education partners with an eye on ensuring our students complete a degree prior to transferring out if we don't offer that particular baccalaureate, or that they will complete a degree after transferring in. We will form and facilitate the superintendent's roundtable to increase the conversation of the regional college going rate and position Gordon as the region's first choice. We will operationalize advisory boards for a number of our programs and services, giving employers and other interested partners an opportunity to share their expertise. We will cultivate new relationships with all of our alumni and challenge our foundation board to serve as ambassadors by not only giving of their time, but of their talent and treasure. By completing all objectives mentioned for each strategic imperative, we're creating the outline for a nicely executed strategic plan. You see, it was once said by industrialist and philanthropist Andrew Carnegie, teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishments toward organizational objectives. It is the fuel that allows common people to attain uncommon results. And that's what we need. We need uncommon results. You see, we all have the responsibility of preparing our students for success after commencement. We all want our graduates to embody the Highlander edge. We want them to be engaged innovators, dedicated scholars, gifted communicators, and ethical leaders. And you, our faculty and staff, will work to foster these attributes through your work and interaction with students. As educational leaders, mentors, advisors, counselors, and cheerleaders, we have a responsibility to come alongside students and assist them during their journey of self-discovery. At the end, it will be a shared story of success. Their success is our success. This is our motivation. This is the power of we. But Kirk, how will I know? How will I know in a world that is cynical and skeptical? What will it look like? What encourages you? Because I've had enough episodes and opportunities in my life to hear certain stories, and there's one I'll leave with you. The story is told of a student leader who walked into a restroom. When they walked into the restroom, it was around the same time of the Charlottesville riots, for those of you who remember. He walked inside the room, and there was a card that was stuck on the mirror. And when he pulled it, the card had wording on it to suggest that everyone was not created equal, that we needed to do away with certain people and certain races here in America. The student leader was startled, so he went and took that to people in authority and said, we need to do something about this. This is not right. It doesn't represent us. The police got involved. They couldn't find anyone. They didn't know who placed the card there, but they did know that there were people among them who thought like this. And yes, it was concerning, but you couldn't track it down. Long story short, the time passed, and there was a presentation, and when the speaker walked into the classroom, the speaker began to share the story of what we can do together, how we can make a difference together if we just take the time to learn about each other. If we don't judge each other based on people we have known in the past, and just because they have certain titles, or just because they have a certain skin color, or maybe because they come from a particular place, that all of a sudden you know all about them. You've got them figured out. The conversation went on and on and on until a set of students walked that particular leader back to their office. One of the students who escorted them back stayed behind that day and said, hey, what you said in the classroom was pretty impactful. Can we spend some time talking? And an appointment was made, and at the appointed date and time, that particular student came back to speak to this one individual. The leader being African American, the student being a white male. The student started speaking and started a conversation. I think you're different. I really like what you said. And started going down a path wherein it became clear that it was that student who placed the card in the bathroom that day. You see, the student came from an environment that taught him there are certain people you don't need to like. That environment taught him that you should feel that you're better than this group of people. But he came to higher education, he came to a college, he came to a university that all of a sudden started to open up his mind, to let him know that the world wasn't indeed black or white. That if we all sat down long enough to listen to each other, we would realize we have a lot in common. We realize that we have a lot at stake together. So we can continue arguing, we continue fussing and fighting, we could buy into the national narrative, or we can decide we're going to do something different together. Long story short, by the time I developed a relationship with that student and I was departing to come here to Gordon State College, that student now had turned around and tried to begin advocating to his friends who taught him the same hate, that there is a different way we can go about this work. There's a different way to look at this because people need a chance. So that's what brings me hope, to know that I can come face to face with a student that probably hated me from afar off because they didn't know me, but gave the opportunity for us to sit and talk, to learn about each other because we had each other's best interests at heart. I believe we have each other's best interests at heart. I believe that Gordon is home not only for you, but it's home for me. I'm excited to be here at Gordon. I don't want to be anywhere else. I don't plan to be anywhere else. I'm home. And I want to work with you and partner with you to make this place what we know it could be and should be. That's called the power of we. So our marketing company was able to capture this essence of the power of we and start us on something. There's more, but I want you to take a look at this quick video about the power of we. This is what we've been showing to our new students. So when they move in on Thursday, this is what our students have been seeing. This is what they know. They don't know 2 years ago. They don't know 5 years ago. They don't know 10 years ago. They know today, and they know the messages we're going to share with them starting on Thursday. Ever since its founding, this state college has continued to operate in this community and region. When it needed to evolve, it did. When it needed to withstand difficult times, it did. When it needed to reinvent itself, it did. It is because of this staying power we partially arrive at this intersection of promise and progress, this window of opportunity today. During this journey, we will not do things for you, but rather with you. To the students of Highlander Nation, you are the heart. The passion for producing more than self, the pursuit of collective transformation, the joy of learning and winning together. This is our motivation. This is the power of we. So with that, all I have to say is Chick-fil-A is coming to Gordon State this fall.